Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hello, I'm Colonie Town Judge Peter Crummey, and welcome to Benchmark. We'll explore a variety of issues involving our legal system, our justice system, and how they intersect with the citizens of the town of Colonie. Our guest today requires little introduction. Our guest today has been a practicing attorney for more than 46 years, has also served our community as Albany County District Attorney, as Albany County Court Judge, and also as a member of the New York State Assembly. Please join me in welcoming Arnold Proskin, and thank you, Judge, for joining us today.
Judge Crummey, thank you very, very much. By the way, that 46 years, I was 8 years old when I started practicing law. You know that, don't you?
Well, obviously you deserved the opportunity to serve even then, Judge, and we're so lucky to have you here.
Thank you.
Time doesn't permit to allow us to fully explore your career on behalf of the citizens of the town of Colonie and the greater capital region. But it's certainly interesting for all of us to recall your election as Albany County District Attorney in 1968, County Court Judge in 1973, served in our state assembly on behalf of our town residents for at least 10 years. It's an exciting time. You're currently practicing law and still practicing law as well.
Yes, I am, and I'm very happy with the career. If I had a chance to do it all over again, I would do the same thing. It's great to say you've given to the community. You know, you and I both know that, you know, you get with these big firms and there's major bucks and all this kind of, and it could have made major bucks. But you know something? I'm happy and satisfied with the career I've had. I'm happy with my family, happy with my career, happy with the community.
Well,
I really mean that.
Judge, speaking of your career, I think it's only fitting, actually. Here we sit in the Sanford Town Library, and actually, your first employment after graduating from Boston College Law School was with William Sanford. Is that correct?
That's correct. I was with William Sanford's firm, Woodmore, Sanford and Had. It was a wonderful experience. And I didn't know Mr. Sanford as a supervisor. I had no idea who he was. When I came for the interview, I just sent some resumes and he asked to interview me. And it was a wonderful man. It was a wonderful, wonderful way to start a career.
And you spent some years with William Sanford, and then you moved on to a firm with Mort Lynn, who served as Albany City Court Judge for many years, and I practiced in front of him as well. And then, of course, running successfully in 1968 for Albany County District Attorney. Tell me a little bit about that exciting time.
Oh, it's not a lot to say. It was a kind of a thing where I'm a Republican. No Republican had won any office in Albany County for 50 years, and you shouldn't run as a Republican. And it was the craziest thing to do. Mort Lynn, by the way, was a Democrat, as you know, and he wasn't judge or anything at that time. And I ran, and you're not supposed to win, but I did things you're not supposed to. I would stand in front of the old Grand Union restaurant, grocery stores, and I helped the little old ladies with, people to this day remember I helped them with their bags in the car. I went to the bowling alley. Nobody ever did this before.
Right.
And let me tell you, Judge, it's a question of, you got to go out and see the people. I went out and I said to the people, look, I'm from downtown Albany. I was brought up in Albany. My heart is in Albany. I love this community. I love the county. And the people turned around and said, let's give this guy a shot. And it was a wonderful, wonderful pride kind of a thing, and a lot of work to do, and I worked very, very hard, and I'm just so pleased with the results that we got.
Well, there was no question that there were a variety of cases that district attorneys handle regardless of administration. And were there particular ones that you think stand out as very important public issues that you carried out for the benefit of the citizens?
Well, one of the things that happened, though, Pete, is that I didn't do what they thought I would do. It used to be that the district attorney, if you're on the opposite side politically, is going to get you, no matter you did something wrong or not. I wouldn't do that. If you did something wrong, I made it very clear. You do something wrong, you're going to jail. I don't care what your party is, Democrat, Republican, you name it, you're going to go to jail. I'll never forget when, I still have the picture, George Shortsleeve was the chief of police in Colonie. Wonderful guy, wonderful friend.
That's right.
And one of our police officers was stealing stuff from the back of a car when he arrested somebody. It was presented to me, and everybody thought, oh, Proskin's going to cover it up. After all, he's from his town, everything else. And we have the picture with George Shortsleeve was sitting there with his head down like this, and Deputy Chief Flater, who passed away, God love him, he was standing behind like this, and we had a news conference, and we said, no, I don't care what the person's party is. If you break the law, you're going to be prosecuted. And that was proof that we did this. We didn't go after people because of the party. We had a lot of very, very strange cases, a lot of, strong cases that happened, political corruption cases, money men, like the snow removal case. That was a $2.1 million Albany spent on snow removal. But just to show you what that means, Rochester and Buffalo, they had 6 times as much spent, maybe $150,000. But what happened was we had many people who had 2 trucks on the road, and they were charging for 14. Well, you can't do that. And the money, of course, was whacked up, whatever they were doing. But, things like this came up. We played fair. And then we said, we better not do this anymore, and all of a sudden, and I'll say this, and I'll say this publicly on television, I'll say it anywhere you want, from having been a corrupt county run by the Democrats, I don't care who runs the county, it's still run by the Democrats, it's not corrupt anymore, in my mind. I think they're very, very straight. We have a great sheriff's department, a great police department, and we have great government. Now, are the other party, am I on the other side? Yes, but so what? Doesn't matter what the party is, you don't steal the people's money.
Judge, from there, of course, you ran for county court judge, Albany County Court judge, and had a successful election there in 1973. Did you, during that part of your professional career, were you involved in any particular cases that you thought certainly were important to you even today, or had an impact on state law as it moved forward?
Yeah, there were a lot of cases that we had. You feel sorry. You're dealing with people, their lives are on the line. The defendants also I'm talking about. But the one that really got me, it sticks in my mind, I close my eyes, I go watch it happening. It was a Kentucky Fried Chicken killing, as I call it. A guy who worked in Kentucky Fried Chicken went in and robbed it, and then 2 of his people he worked with, he had him in the back room, and he shot and killed, he almost killed the other, but he shot and killed one of his friends so they wouldn't identify him. And that was shortly after New York State passed the law that says no more death penalty. And the case was tried before me. I completed the case, and I know my quotes are still in the paper. And I said this, I said, you're very lucky that they changed the law, because if we had the death penalty, you would get it, because you deserve it in this particular case. And I gave him a maximum sentence because he deserved it for what happened like that. I mean, it's a horrible thing. And you have so many of these things where Sergeant McNeil was killed. That was when I was DA. And police weren't killed in those days, Pete. And, it wrings your heart out. And you're saying, I've done this, we played straight. And then I'll never forget one other little anecdote that I think you'll find funny. When I became county judge, Sal Greenberg, he wasn't elected. Ralph Smith, who was my first assistant, ran. He was in for a year, and Sal Greenberg beat him. And I said to my wife, now I'm sitting on the bench now, I said, Marty, I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing illegal, I promise you. But if they go back to the old days, they're going to start accusing me of doing some bad things, and I didn't do it. Sal, before he took office, was going around making speeches. What a great district attorney Arnold Proskin was. I said, because, in the old days, they would have gone after me. But Sal played the game straight, and the office stayed straight. The office is non-political. Well, it's politically have to run for office, of course, but it's not corrupt. There's nothing like that involved.
Well, your practice continues, of course, and even currently you've been serving on behalf of the Office of Court Administration as a judicial hearing officer. And of course, we're not here to talk about specific cases, but in general, what types of cases will you assist the Office of Court Administration on?
Well, what we have is the law is very, very strange. It's a good law. Former judges can be a yearly designation to sit as Supreme Court, family court, and sitting on a case-by-case basis. It helps take the load off. They don't pay you a lot, but it's a case-by-case basis. And I sit a lot in family court, and I sit a lot in Supreme Court in the various counties in the whole 3rd and 4th district, all the way up to Canada, actually. But I'll sit like a lot down in Greene County, a lot down in Columbia County. I'll go up north a little bit. I was up in Washington County, which is, it's like 55 minutes from my house, as you know. But you do it, and it's like contributing to the system. It really works very, very well. You help the lawyers settle cases, and you're a practicing lawyer, you know how it works, and you'd like to settle cases, and that's what happened. And I do this, and I enjoy it very, very much. And I'm satisfied doing it. But the good thing about it is, like, sometimes, like, grandkids used to want to say, I'm busy today. I don't want to do it. No, you don't have to take a case. You have the option of saying, yes, I'll take that case, or I won't take that case.
Well, it must certainly help open up courtroom time, which is very valuable in our judicial system across the board. I find that courtroom time is most precious, and opportunities to have cases handled outside of the courtroom actually assist society tremendously.
It takes the pressure off the judges that are in that particular, like down in, like I know they're getting way backed up down in Columbia County, and Judge Nichols was talking the other day. He says, I got all these family court, and he's going to give me a bunch of cases. Would you please do these for me? And they're wonderful people down. I said, of course I will. There's no question. It takes the pressure off, and it's a very, very good thing that they have going through the court system.
Judge, during your professional career of 46 years as a practicing attorney, you've probably seen the practice of law change here in the Capital Region somewhat. Are there portions of the practice that you wish still existed, or is it transitioned globally to a better place? How do you see the change over the years?
Well, Pete, I know you remember the old special term days.
Sure do.
It was a wonderful. You go there and you see all your buddies are hanging around. You have to argue your cases before the judge, or else just answer that you're there, and they'll put the case off. And it was the greatest thing in the world. I miss that. It really was so much fun. I think everybody truly enjoyed doing that. But no, I'll tell you what's changed in our area alone. When I was a young lawyer, one of the things I was warned about is if a guy from, say, Albany talks to you, you could take his word, don't worry about it. A guy from Troy, take his word. Guy from Schenectady, get it in writing, because up there they had a reputation of sometimes not quite telling the whole truth. Now, the guys in Schenectady are fantastic. And all of our lawyers, I think we have a fantastic, I'm so proud to be a lawyer. We joke about it, say, I'm ashamed to say I'm a lawyer, but we shouldn't be. We do a lot for the community. And I just think it's just a wonderful thing that we have right now. But I do miss special term, though. I truly do.
And I was brought up on that when I was first, my initial position was in the town attorney's office, and we'd go down for special term. And I remember arguing cases in front of Judge Shalakas, who then became a federal judge.
That's right.
After that, too.
He was one of my godfathers, by the way.
Well, it was a great way to learn about the practice of law and the skill of practicing the law. And it did bring everybody together, too.
If I may talk about Judge Shalakas for one second, I'll never forget when I was going to run, the rumor was that I was going to run for district attorney, and Gus used to live over in, I forgot which, Stephentown, one of the little towns over in Rensselaer County, and he was like my godfather. He truly was. He was the district attorney a year before me in Rensselaer County, and I'm over the house. I close my eyes, I just see it now. We're sitting at a table, there's a little coffee table, and he's saying, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to run, Gus. He said, you're going to put any money into this thing? Don't put any money in this thing. Don't put any money in this campaign, because you don't have any chance to win. And then I won, of course. He called me up and said, boy, I'm happier than you are. Well, he's a wonderful man. He died too young, though.
Yeah. He had a very positive impact on the practice of law here in the community. How do you have any feelings about, you and I practice in either small or solo firms ourselves, and I'm very involved in the local Albany County Bar Association, and they have a special committee on solo practice, small firm practice. Do you see a future for solo practitioners or small practice firms?
Yeah, I think there really is. The public, you know, you have a lot of friends who are your clients. I have friends who are my clients, and they feel comfortable talking to you instead of walking in. I've had people come into my office, and they were with unnamed firms, a big firm. And they said, you know, I had them for a little while, but I couldn't talk to any lawyers. I mean, they have all these people, the paralegals, and, you know, people want a close relationship with their attorney. It's not a question of, oh, yes, come in, you'll be a number. People don't want that, and I think our small firms do this. We're there to help the people. We try to have a heart toward the people, and, you know, we're a lot cheaper than the big firms are, and I'm not saying as a joke. People, sometimes they can't afford it, and they know, like, they'll come into your office, right, and they know you're going to treat them fairly, and, you know, you're not going to say, oh, well, our register says you got to pay $3,000 for this. No, we don't do that. I think there's a great future for the small firm. I really do.
Judge, one of the other ththings that I've seen in life in general is the advance of technology, not only in everyday life, but also in the practice of law. Have you any feelings about that? Our federal system, Judge Treese was here just a year ago or so, and he let us know that essentially the federal system is all electric now. Pretty much. What do you think about that? Does it help or hurt, or what do you?
I will make a confession to you, sir.
All right.
We have, of course, we have computer stuff and email stuff in the office,
sure,
and everybody's got their little computer. I have one too, but you know something? Mine does not have emails and stuff. I'm not going to sit there all day. This is my view. I'm not going to sit there all day and look, oh, I got to answer Crummey just right away. I got to do it. If you want to go through the email to get me, you got to go through my daughter or somebody else in the office. But this is what the practice is. People, and they literally, I don't know how they do it. They sit there and they must look at their computer screen and they say, oh, well, my client, I got to send right back in them. And it's there, though. That's what's making the business operate, I guess. And I don't know about you, and I guess you're more computer-oriented than I am, maybe. But I'm just, you know, it's there, though. And I think it makes things much quicker. And I know a lot of the people in the office, for instance, will type most of their own contracts and stuff. And then the gals will finalize it. Not me. The old-fashioned dictating machine, and I say, here's what it is. Right. But with the computers, are allowed to do it the other way.
Well, it seems to me that there can be some, as far as the judicial branch is concerned, there can be some cost-effective savings by going electric in many ways. A year ago, I did a 50-page report for the town board on the state of the Colonie court system, and I advanced a variety of proposals, including advocating more electronic use of electronic capacity for filing papers, and also considering, in some instances, video arraignment as well, in order to ensure that a defendant enjoys opportunity for bail sooner than what
the feds do that all the time.
You bet they do. I know they do.
The only thing is, you've been in the library in my office. You see all these books in the wall. People come in, they look. What are all these books there? Because the research now is done on a little computer. We have the old-fashioned books going back 40 years ago that we have them in the wall. But you don't do those books anymore necessarily. They want to do research. Somebody throw it in the computer, they kick it out, and you have it right there. So it's more efficient. There's no question about it.
You know, Judge, you've mentioned how the camaraderie that developed through special term, which was Thursdays or Fridays down at the county courthouse, where all attorneys who had pending cases would appear on a routine matter. And we've also spoken about the use of the internet and electric papers. Do you think that the correspondence between attorneys can be not as friendly, or the camaraderie is less when we don't have opportunities to gather as a bar to the same level that we did, and that people will say things on an internet that they might not have said face to face? Do you see any of that?
Well, I think, speaking for the county bar and actually the state bar, they're trying to maintain this camaraderie.
Right.
I know we are.
You bet.
But I think without something like that, I think it could be a great separation. All of a sudden you become just a name on a computer or something like this. I think it's so important to interact the way we do. And it's Colonie Town Court. I go there, you know, I still go at night. Some young guys say, what are you doing there? And I says, well, in my office, they send me. I said, well, I happen to love coming here. A couple of reasons. Number one, I like practicing law. But number two, you see a lot of your old friends. A lot of lawyers are there. It's like a baby get-together from the Bar Association. Yeah. And that's what can be done.
Well, I think it's great for attorneys to be able to have that opportunity throughout, and certainly now what you're having with, like you said, the Colonie Justice Court with 25,000 cases a year, it still provides opportunity for councils to get together at the same time,
That's exactly
which doesn't
right.
really happen at the state level anymore.
No.
You might have
I
a
agree.
conference at a certain time, or you might have an appearance in chambers at a certain time, but you're not all there at the same time.
No, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And you know, I know you're the same as I. I love to practice law. I really, truly enjoy what I'm doing. And but if you're going to make it so it's going to be all just down the line and you're doing this alone and you're not dealing with other people, it may not be as much fun. I think it's a lot of fun interacting with people, dealing with people, and you know, it's just a great way to great way for a profession. I think so. I'm happy. Would you, if I asked you a question for a change?
Well, I don't know
Would
if you
you
can.
change? Would you do things differently, Judge Crummey, than you did now? If you knew when you were going to go to law school, you would have your life just the way it is now. Wouldn't you do it again?
Absolutely.
I am too.
Well, we're very
I feel
fortunate in so
100%.
many
Yes.
ways. And
I
to be
agree.
able to serve in a community like this,
I
we're
agree.
very lucky.
I agree 2,000% with you.
And you know, you benefited like I benefited by fabulous parents, and who really made quite a reputation by themselves in the community, and we've all benefited by that. I think that having parental influence like that has certainly been a great advantage for you and I, and you can see it as you turn forward, and you have children and grandchildren now as well.
Yes.
Oh, and many living right here in the community as well.
Can I
And
tell
you-
one
yeah.
more anecdote?
Sure.
I was married when I went to law school. My wife Marty was my scholarship. I want you to know that. And it's so funny. I went to Boston College, which is a wonderful, wonderful law school.
So
We
did I.
loved it there.
Undergrad. Yeah.
And when I got out of law school, they just passed the new law that said that in a divorce matter, that they would allow the spouse to get a portion of what the value of the degree was. And I said to Marty, that keeps us together because I'm going to cost me a fortune, I hope, doing this. But she was wonderful. She's been with me. She stayed by me, and we have a wonderful family. You look back on life, I said, I hope it's not over soon, but boy, I'll tell you something. I'm just so grateful for all that's happened.
Well, we're certainly grateful that you've taken the time to come join us today.
It's my honor. Truly
and
is.
And actually, you're practicing with Lisa, right?
Yes,
She
my
practices-
oldest daughter's there, yes.
Well, what's
And
that
she's,
like? My oldest daughter is now at Albany Law School, and I think it must be very redeeming every day to come in and know that your daughter is there working with you.
Wonderful. It's wonderful. Let me tell you.
Right.
And she's a sharp gal, and thank goodness she's okay, and she's working with us. And,
Sure.
trying to get her to take over the office, kid. Don't take over the office. I'm not going to stop working, but take over the office. And
Yeah.
we have a small practice, but you know something? We love it. It's just a wonderful way to continue life.
Well, we'll keep at it, Judge, and there certainly as we move forward. How do you see the practice of law in 50 years from now? Do you see it changing again, and will it be for the better, or will there be negative aspects to the change? What do you see in 50 years?
It's tough to describe because if you think back 30, even 20, 30 years ago, who would have thought of computers and everything being involved in our practice taking over?
Right.
So you don't know what, we may have robots there. We push a button, say, go try that case for me, pal. That's all there is to it. So we don't really know. I think generally, the bottom line, even the way it's changed from when we started till now, the way it's changed is the practice of law is really trying to get for humanity, for people, what they have coming to them and what is right for them. Now, whether you use computers, whether you use robots, whether you use just people like us,
Right.
that's what you're trying to do. If a person has a legal problem, the lawyer is there to help them. And the lawyer is there to protect their rights. The lawyer is there to gain anything that they have coming to them. And that's going to be the same. 50 years from now, 100 years from now, it's going to be the same. That's why we have lawyers. And if people stop having rights, I don't want to think what could happen.
Well, and as we move forward too, I don't disagree with you that that's a very important element in society as well. How do you think, do you think we're over-lawyered or under-lawyered as a society? I mean, we hear about these things from time to time, and you know, sometimes, you know, there are folks that think that, oh, it's lawyers have caused all the problems, and yet as a next door neighbor, they're a good next door neighbor, they're a good parent, and they're a solid person in the community, but somehow globally, the institution is often looked at as causing problems as opposed to fixing problems.
Well, globally, yes, but lawyers are causing problems unless the problems are yours that they're helping to resolve. Right. And that's what we're there for, no matter whether you're going to be an IBM corporation or just the guy next door that has some whatever the problems there are. Lawyers are blamed for a lot. You know, I know more lawyer jokes than you do probably, and I'm not going to tell them now, but there's a lot of lawyer jokes, you know that. Right. And some of them are baseless, because there are some lawyers who anything, right, where you just can't trust. If they tell you today is Monday, you say, I better check the calendar. I don't, you know, but most lawyers are honest. They're honest, honorable people. They really are. There are some bad guys, but there are some bad doctors. There are some bad anything you want, any profession you want to think of. We have a great profession. We have a great group of people that we work with, men and women. I mean, back when we started, women were very few. There weren't that many of them. Now we have women lawyers. I think there are more women lawyers than men lawyers now. They do a great job. It's just wonderful.
Judge, in your current practice, what types of cases generally are you involved in today, other than finding your way into the local justice court as well in a variety of either criminal matters or vehicle and traffic matters or even a landlord-tenant matter? What else do you find your way into doing
We
here?
have fun doing those, as you know. But no, we do like the small, like whatever the small person needs. Need a will? Let's do a will. Somebody died in the family. Oops, somebody's got to help handle that estate. You got to do some estate planning. Got in an accident, and you know, guess what? They call the local lawyer up and say, "Hey, I was in an accident. I hurt my back a little bit." You know, we handle negligence cases. Certain cases now have become so refined, you just can't do it. There are specialists in certain areas, but you know, it's the old. I call ourselves the old small town attorney. You know, just whatever you need for your local lawyer, whatever we're going to do. And if you need someone who's an expert in some sophisticated field, you refer them here. Use Judge Crummey for this. He does this stuff. He's the guy, and that's the way to treat clients. And you don't try to learn on clients, because then they'll get hurt. But just a small town lawyer, wills, and buying a piece of property. Oops, I better get a lawyer for this, and have the lawyer do it. It's just a typical small town, small attorney that we used to know, and we're still in existence, and I hope we'll be around forever.
Well, I'm sure that's true. And you know, the contrast between practicing even in upstate as opposed to downstate. Last week I was I'm on a New York State Bar Association committee with Judge Kay as the chair, and I was in her law office last week in Times Square. And of course, when I say law office, it's a multi-floor building in downtown Manhattan.
They have more people in that firm than they do in the city of Albany.
And you get the flavor for different, all in New York State. But the levels of practice and the size of some firms, especially out of Manhattan, like the one that Judge Kay serves in currently too, who was our former chief judge of the Court of Appeals. Great contrast for me to see. But do you find that, have you often had practice opportunities with New York City lawyers as well in any cases, and any difference in the nature of practice?
Yes, I've got some very dear friends who practice in New York City, and it's a lot different than practice. And what we do is, if I have a matter down in New York City, guess what? I refer it. I'll never forget a little anecdote that would happen. When I was district attorney, there was a guy charged, I don't know what he was charged, we had a trial, and I tried the case. And a New York City guy came up to try the case on the other side. He wishes he went home, because you New York City guy talking to us, and basically I could have tried the case saying, send this guy back to New York, what's going on? Right. You know, and you know, because it's the typical, I'm from New York, you know who I am, I'm a very important guy, whatever. But they have it's a different world down there. As you said, the firms are so monstrous, firms are so big. Nice people, I mean, you're nice people, except down in New York City, you have to be very careful, because when they deal with each other, like you and I deal with each other, I'll be honest with you, you'll be honest with me, because if we're not, you're going to be with another case in a couple weeks from now. Down in New York City, they deal one case in a lifetime with most of the people they're dealing with, so you can give it to them if you want. But we practice differently up here. We have a much more camaraderie, I think, than they do down in the city.
Well, you raised an interesting point. When I was a freshman at Albany Law School, Frank Wallace was my property teacher, and one of the, and while day to day, the text you might forget some of the text over time. I don't forget one of his maxims is be careful about practicing out of your bailiwick.
That's right.
And he cited his own story about going up into the North Country and thinking he was going to manage this thing, but you know what? It's often it's often better to be circumspect about where you are and who should be there.
That is the best advice you give to anybody.
And I remember
think.
it today,
Yes.
many
Yes.
years from now.
Yes.
And Judge, thank you so much for joining us today on Benchmark. It's a treat, and of course, time doesn't nearly give us the opportunity to talk about your all of the things that you've done in your professional career. But we're happy you came here today, Judge.
Peter, thank you very, very much. And I'd like to turn this around and someday interview you and talk about your career, because you've got such a wonderful career that you've built up yourself. And I'm very proud to have you as a very dear friend and a close friend. And I really mean that. And I respect you. I respect your, not only professionally, but personally. You're just a wonderful guy. And I'm honored to be here. And I thank you very, very much for asking me to come.
Well, thank you very much, Judge. I'm Colonie Town Judge Peter Crummey, and thank you for joining me on Benchmark.